1979, the original Alien movie was tagged with the line, "In space, no one can hear you scream." But for the sequel, and a video game based on that sequel, then the tagline should have been, "In Joker's amusement, everyone can hear you scream at this game." In 1990, some 4 years after the outstanding Aliens movie, Konami released this run and gun shooter in the arcades, and it was a real coin muncher as it was as tough as all hell. The game can be played in 1 or 2 player, with each player taking control of Ripley or Hicks. Although they look nothing like their characters from the film, probably due to some licensing issues. Each player starts off with a big heavy smart gun, but various power-ups can be picked up along the way, such as flamethrowers, 3-way shots, and rocket launchers. Between certain levels, the action changes from the horizontal style of run and gun to a pseudo third-person shooter as you shoot your way through the advancing alien horde on top of the APC. Each level will see the player fighting it out with a big boss alien at the end, with the game boss naturally being the Queen Alien herself, which also has a nice surprise and nod to the film. And that nod is needed, because apart from the name, this game has very little resemblance to the movie at all. Some of the settings look vaguely familiar, but the end of level bosses look like nothing I have ever seen in a movie, and I must have seen Aliens at least 50 times in my life. This thing at the end of level 1, for example, it looks like a cross between a spider and a giraffe with its big long neck. But I guess that Konami had to be a little creative, as just fighting off the same enemy each and every time might have got a little boring and dull. And these zombies with a kind of World War I era submachine gun, I wonder if Konami had produced an entirely different game and repurposed it to produce Aliens. Who knows? But again, I don't remember seeing any zombies in the movie at all. The forced pseudo third person sections are pretty terrible in my opinion, and I think they were included just to vary up the gameplay a little. And as the aliens approach at high speed, there doesn't seem to be any kind of sprite scaling. If Sega had this license, I bet those scenes would have looked spectacular. I think the visuals on the game are pretty good, especially for 1990. The backgrounds might be using a mix of drab and boring colours, but this is to resemble the industrial setting of the base on LV-426. But each level has lots of detail, and it does give off this kind of distressed look, with holes, cracks and damage all over the place as after effects from the alien attacks. The animation on the Ripley sprite is not bad, with the constant moving of the head left and right as she scans the area for oncoming threats. The aliens as well are nicely animated, but the facehuggers move with this kind of glide, and nothing like the hurried scurry as seen in the movies. But the facehugger egg pods look remarkably close to the movie, so credit to the graphic artists there. The sound effects are your typical Konami shooter. Lots of big bangs, repetitive booms for the machine gun, and plenty of other sound effects. Aliens scream as they die is also excellent in my opinion, and sounds quite close to the movie. But the music is a real letdown, I'm afraid. The opening level tune is great, with this kind of 80s synth sound and feel to it, and it actually suits the action of the level very well. But as the game progresses, the rest of the music is largely forgettable. But at the time I played this in the arcades, I couldn't really hear the music on this cabinet, as it was next to a Pac-Land cabinet that had the volume cranked all the way up to the max, and it was pretty deafening. So this game is not very good, I hear you say. Well, I may have been a bit harsh on the game, but I can tell you this. Back in the day, this was one of my favourite arcade games to play with a mate. Being a fan of the Alien movies, and with Alien not having a decent game based on it in those days, then this offering from Konami was well received by me and my mates. You see, it didn't matter that the game didn't really resemble the movie, or that the really quiet music was bad. All that mattered was that this game was great to play. And back then, in the early 90s, it was awesome. Today, it doesn't really hold up all that well. But it's important to keep things in context with retro games. Not every game can transcend generations and styles, and still be great today as it was when it was shiny and new. The thing I enjoyed about Aliens was also the thing that was annoying at times, and that was the difficulty. This was not an easy game to beat. Now, we're not talking ghouls and ghost territory here, but certainly when I used to play it in Joker's Amusements, it was a real tough nut to crack. It was a 30p a go game, but it was also a single life game, and so you knew it was going to cost about £3 to beat. But it was so much fun, it was worth every penny. It was a game I had hoped would see a port to a home console, or maybe even a home micro, but I do not think it ever got ported over to anything. I certainly don't remember seeing it on anything like the Commodore 64 or Amiga, or anything like that. The game was mostly praised by critics. It did have some detractors, but for the most part it was well received, with Julian Rignall even noting it was simply brilliant. And he was right. With praise like that, it was a real mystery why it never got a home port. It may have been something to do with the licence, or maybe Konami felt it was not successful enough. But thanks to MAME, this is now a game that just about anyone can play, and I do encourage everyone to give it a go. And that was my look back at Aliens, the arcade game by Konami. If you like this video, then please do give me a sub and a thumbs up, or maybe even a comment or two below about your memories of Aliens, the arcade game, or the movie, if you are so inclined. And that's all from me, folks. Thanks for watching.